Hi there, my name is Nomisa Nambusi. Welcome to my channel, Conversations with Nomna, where we talk about self-love, passion living, legacy building. You matter, love your life, celebrate one of a kind you. Hey, welcome to a Q&A with me, Nomna. The Q&A is around my motivations behind the BU series. I say BU series because it's a series of material that I've developed around being you, or being me, being you. You get my drift. So I created this Q&A in order for me to unblock myself, unblock why I've been unable to take it out into the world, because somehow taking it out into the world also meant that I have to face up to my being myself, right? So I thought first let me do this Q&A so I can get this shyness around why this work out of the way, so I can start working on it actively and getting it out there. So the first question: why did you create the BU series of content? Why did I create the BU series of content? Okay, so it's a long windy story. However, it's important that I go into it actually, and it's the reason why I decided to do this Q&A. In October 2018, someone said something to me. I was back home in the rural. Someone said something to me that really just shook me to my core and made me question my identity. Shortly after that, I had to go back to Joburg. I was about to start my first official independent contract. So I left here feeling heavy, not knowing what to think about myself anymore. Oh, I got interrupted. So why did you create the BU series of content? Okay, pause. Okay, singenza.
Why BU Q&A? Why did you create the BU series of content?
I created it. Okay, so I'm gonna go into So, how it all started, I came home, it was end of October 2018. I had just come back from Ghana, and whilst I was here, someone here at home said something to me that shook my core and questioned everything I'd ever known, and basically that made me question my identity. If I am who I've always defined myself to be in terms of who I'm born and all that. Well, shortly after that, I had to leave and go back to Joburg because I had a job that I was about to start. It was my first independent contract. It was a big deal. So I left, and whilst I was busy in that assignment, this thing kept eating at me, I could not talk to anyone about it. So it just became this thing that I kept thinking about. When so said this, what did she mean? And so it happened that I signed up for a program, an Ignite Unleash Your Genius program with a coach. It's a coach that I had been following, and because I was already in business, I signed up because I was hoping that it would help me catapult my business to greater heights. The most surprising thing that happened when I started doing the work the work propelled me to go back into that story that I'd abandoned of who I am and why I'm here on this planet. Some of the things that showed up in that program showed that I'm psychic, things I didn't understand. However, I understood because I'd had those experiences where I get shown things before they happen. My intuition was very on point and my dreams were so real, you know? So I wanted to start a coaching business, but no, I did not want to just start a coaching business. I just wanted to understand what is my genius, what is it that I'm here for, why do I exist, and how can I make that something I do on my daily. So what I created out of that was the BU series, because I realized that I had so many questions about my identity, and there's so many other people that probably have those questions. And I wanted to know why I am the person I am, why things are the way they are, where I'm going with my life. And I started documenting that story. Oh, by the way, my middle name is Nom, which means me, myself, I. You know? That's how the story just unfolded. From there, it was a series of I went into a depression. I could not find new work after that contract ended. And I was just wrapped up in this researching about me, who I am, looking at various ways of getting to understand myself, went into psychology, doing psychological assessments, went into astrology to understand what the astrology. I had always been an avid astrology fan, so I went deeper into it. I went into other esoteric content like tarot readings, when I found that the more I was engaging myself fully in this content that is around me as an entity, not just Ncimisanom Nambusi, who was born at Sekong by my parents, Lili Nomna, Lili Nomzi, Ntebeng Mbusi, formerly Lehana, and Tata Chukela Dagmo Davidson Mbusi, who was born of Mark Mbusi, and my mother born of Goko Mamuntwedi, your Royal Highness Gogo Chieftainess Mamuntwedi Lahana, and I just went further beyond those aspects that I'd known myself my whole life, and I just went into space. Basically, I went into space, and I relied on astrology. I know when I was born, so I'm a Virgo, and somehow because I had those, I've always been curious about my birth. I had asked my mother about my birth, when it happened, how, and all that. I had asked my father about my birth and their marriage, and he told me what he told me. So I used that information to go deeper into who I am beyond my sun sign. I discovered there's moon signs, there's south and north nodes. I discovered the Venus signs and all that. The more I went into that content, and the more I followed astrological planetary movements and what they bring into my life as a being, that is defined by those astrological measures, the more I found that, when I would watch an astrological overview or a tarot reading, they would be talking about something I had been engaged in the whole day, something I'd been analyzing and deliberating on, and and they would talk about it. And they're talking to the masses. It's a general reading, and this person is far in the northern hemisphere, white, black, Indian, colored, and they're not talking to me, Ncumisa, as an individual. They're talking to a human being that falls within that category. I started realizing that I'm more than just a person that is born as Ncumisano Mnambusi, Etsekongo no Zulu, and all that. I'm a being that has been brought onto the earth as a species, like all species come onto the earth, and I'm here for a purpose and a reason. And I started understanding why I even went into this work, like my career change management, because it's innate in me. I'm a Scorpio, and Scorpio is a sign of transformation, death and transformation. All like literally, like um um I'm a Sun 5 in terms of numerology, which is as the number 5 is a sign of is a number of change, transformation. Um, it's there were so many. I won't go into detail. There were so many non-personal aspects about me that I discovered that made me understand why I do the work that I do, why I've done the work that I've done. And then in all that, there was the whole Diatwasa, and when I went into that story, it was being explained, right? And it was explained in the same context, but in an African way. And I was able to understand what they meant because I'd gone into the universal, global astrological ways of explaining what's happening with me. So that's when I got to understand what's happening with me and who I am. And in the process of doing that, I was documenting the story and I was developing the content, and that's how the BU series came about.
What are you hoping to achieve with this body of work?
What I'm hoping to achieve with this body of work is helping my fellow, those who find themselves at crossroads where they don't know who they are anymore, where there's been a major shift in who they saw themselves, whether it's a new marriage, you're getting married, you're getting divorced, you're becoming a parent, you are stepping into a career. You used to be an employee, now you're being a leader, or whatever role in which where you find yourself. The way that you were defining yourself before has changed or is changing, and you don't know how to define yourself in a new way. I'm hoping that I will give those people a few pointers to help them find their path, find their way, find themselves. And when they do that, they will be able to move forward in those roles that they find themselves in with confidence. They will have clarity in the decisions that they make, and they will feel fulfilled, content with who they are, because they will realize who they are, even in the new setting that they find themselves in. Yeah.
How has the experience been?
Yeah, it's been hard. It's been depressing. It's been, in the content, I talk about the change journey, which is work I've been doing in my change management career for the longest time, and now it was so real, not just in terms of work, but in terms of my life. It started with surprise, and then I went into denial. I was like, no man, this is not who I am, this is not what I'm about. Because one of the things I uncovered was that I'm a writer. I'm like, no man, what can I write, what would I write? And the writing I was thinking about at the time was like the romantic stories, the books I read, and I thought, no man, that's like, okay, I know I write, I mean, I do that probably more than anything else on the planet, but it was, I became angry at so many people for so many reasons, because as I was unfolding the story, of course, like we live with people, our stories are riddled with our existence amongst other people. So there was anger at myself, anger at my parents, there were so many levels of anger that I had to work through. And then I went into a depression. I stopped doing all the things that I love doing, things like cooking for my family, something that my family had been used to for as long as I've existed and been able to cook. I just couldn't get into the kitchen and cook anymore. I couldn't. There were so many things I couldn't do. I went into a depression. But because I'm a change management professional, I knew what was happening to me and I knew why it was happening. So I was able to, even in that depressive state, embrace it and learn the lessons that I needed to learn in that state. Because it's in that state where I was able to write my most powerful, the deepest core of my emotions. And because the BU series it's a personal, deep work that comes from the pit of my heart. I was only able to go there and pull it out through tears and pain. And for me to exit, né, I had to start charting a journey out of that pain into starting to see the light, of which the lights at the beginning, there were only just flickers here and there. But the more I just believed in the light, no matter how fickle it seemed, the closer I found myself to getting out of that state and finding my path. Of which right now, as we're doing this interview, I'm at that point, I'm like, oh, finally, 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 we reach this point, the light, where I can now share the light with others, you know? But it's been painful. It's a physical body pain, it's an emotional pain, it's a mental pain, it's a spiritual pain. We am gay. It runs through my entire being. Someone asked me the other day, like, how does it feel doing this series of videos I've been doing, right? And I was telling him that every time I do like a video, you know, or I write something or I post on Facebook, it's like a sense of release, because that thing comes from, it had been weighing me, it had been enveloping me in my body. So when I develop that content and I put it out there into the world, there's a weight that lifts off me and I feel lighter. So it's been healing. It's been healing me. Doing the work has helped me heal. Yeah.
How do you wish your audience to benefit from it? That experience.
I wish for them, how I wish for my audience to benefit. I'm hoping that they, if they resonate with the story of needing to find themselves when they've lost their identity, they're not understanding who they are anymore, or they're at serious life crossroads, or life has just been shitty and they don't know how to get out of it, I'm hoping that they will find the strength and comfort to take the journey, né, and heal themselves, because no one can do that, only you. Healing is a personal journey. I'm hoping the work will help them heal and find their path, find themselves, find their light, and share it with others. Yeah.
If there's anything you can mention that stands out about being you series, what is it?
It is the fact that when you look at it at face value, no, it seems fickle and light. But when you start engaging with the work, it's very deep, and it's a deep spiritual transformation journey. And the journey is so individual, the other person will never understand. What I do want to warn the audience though also is the fact that sometimes at some point you may even hate me for even developing the work and you being exposed to it, because it will break the shackles and the chains that you've been tied up in. And sometimes we like our comfort zones, you know, we're happy in them because you can almost predict what tomorrow brings or what will happen next. But now when you start engaging with the being you series, né, you start questioning all that. You step out of it and you step into unknown. And most times when people step into the unknown, obviously the first thing you get fear. Everything is new, you don't know where you're going, there's no chart forward, you have to figure it out. And people get angry, why did this person pull me out of Egypt? Why did God pull us out of Egypt? Here we are now in the desert, né? But what I want to say to them is, don't give up on yourself, don't give up on your on the work. Don't give up on the journey. There's a reason. It's not a coincidence that you have found yourself working through the work. Maybe it's time that you do the work. And yes, it will not be easy. This is not a get heal me quick pill. No, it's not. It's just a template that says I can do this, and maybe this is how I need to go about it. That's all it is. Yeah.
So what inspires you? Taba, tiba, taba.
What inspires me is my kids. The thing that happened to me, it's not new. It happens to a lot of people. It has happened to people before us. Even when we were kids, we've watched our elders going through those motions and cycles. Né? But they some found the help they needed, some didn't, some were lost forever, and they were never able to really fully realize their potential and their purpose. What inspires me to do the work is the fact that I'm hoping it will help my children. I have 3 children, and they will go through this questioning who I am. I'm hoping what inspires me is that I'm able to create something that will help them even in my absence. Yeah, that's what inspires me to do the work. Yeah.
What does the creation process look like?
It's madness.